Menopause is having a renaissance. Have you noticed it's everywhere? It's a menopocalypse. TV, radio, books, podcasts, and even menopause summits. I'm not joking when I tell you there's a summit out there called the Positive Pause. But why now? I mean, it's not like menopause has just been invented. We can go back well over 2,000 years when Aristotle told us that he noticed women between the ages of 40 and 50 stopped reproducing. Coincidentally, it's also the first documented case of mansplaining. And you are allowed to laugh there. In 1820, a French physician coined the term la menopause, excuse my bad French, and thus we had a name for it. During Victorian times, it was believed that a woman's ovaries directly impacted her brain, making her susceptible to insanity. And menopausal women were particularly demonized during this time, often being diagnosed with hysteria, which, by the way, is a made up term. The 1950s saw the introduction of menopause hormone therapy to help manage our symptoms. Good, hey? Unfortunately, that was wrapped up in a pretty little misogynistic bow. For example, one ad turned around and said, husbands too like Premarin, helping women to restore lost femininity and to make them pleasant to live with once again. I know, right? Charming. So, menopause has a history. But despite this and the increased menopause chatter, there's still a massive knowledge gap and lack of positive conversation. For example, how many of you here today have actually had a conversation about menopause? Or, good, or even said the word out loud in public? So while menopause is having its time in the sun, it's still a pretty stigmatizing topic and somewhat embarrassing. But there's been a shift recently that has seen Gen X women who've had enough. They're talking about menopause and bringing it out of the shadows. This tempest of menopausal women are being bold and open about their experiences because they truly understand the importance of this topic. Women are being denied access to help because they do not know what's happening to them and they don't know where to turn. I believe this is a crucial conversation that everyone here should be having, and that everyone includes men. And here's why. Everyone here will be impacted by menopause because chances are you're either in menopause, you will be at some stage, or you know somebody that is going through it. And if you're a man in this situation, it's a literal minefield. How are you able to show allyship, support, and empathy if you will never experience this yourself? And are you even allowed to contribute? Well, these are the questions I'm going to help answer for you today. So, I'm a personal trainer and nutrition coach of 30 years who is currently having a hot flash. Seriously though, during all my education and training, I was never taught about menopause, and my industry specializes in human physiology. And actually, the opposite was true. I was told that nothing needs to be taken into consideration with the female body as we age. And I simply believed that until I didn't. I was at a boxing class and I was working out really hard. And afterwards, I just was like, oh, I felt terrible. I had dizziness and nausea, and I felt like I'd been hit with a wrecking ball. And I just assumed I'd get better, but I didn't. I got worse. And I started to look and feel terrible. I then spent the next 2 years in the medical wilderness looking for answers, undergoing dozens and dozens of tests, all with no conclusion. The answer came when I went to a routine gynecology appointment when the doctor said to me, "Are you okay?" "No," I said plainly, and then I burst into tears, like you do. He immediately recognized that my symptoms were perimenopause. They were brain fog, migraine, depression, and incontinence. And I'm sure the ladies know about that here. You're not losing your mind, you're just losing your estrogen. And then he went on to explain that the declining and fluctuating hormones were the cause of my symptoms. So that was a relief, because then at least I knew I didn't have a serious illness. But soon that relief turned to anger. Why didn't I know about menopause? Like, why was this time of my life such a mystery to me? Anyway, later that day, I met my husband and he said, hey, how did the appointment go? Well, apparently I'm in perimenopause, I told him. Thank God, he said, I thought you were going to leave me. And it was right then that I realized how much my menopause experience had really impacted him. It really was our menopause experience. I learned that there was a wealth of information and treatments that I was denied access to that could have completely changed my quality of life. A recent study showed that a shocking 1 in 2 women at 46% have absolutely no idea what to expect during this phase of their life. And in a world where no topic is off limits, over 54% of them, that's over half, still think it's a taboo topic. There are millions of women worldwide who have no idea about what menopause is, how long it lasts, and the truly surprising array of symptoms. How are women supposed to be able to advocate for themselves when they don't know what they don't know? And if they don't know what they don't know, how on earth are men supposed to be there to support us? Okay, right. I went back to the UK recently to my brother's house. Well, we found the remote control in the fridge. So either my sister-in-law or myself put it there, and again, hello menopause brain. But actually that incident led to a really interesting conversation between 3 female generations of my family. My mom turned around and said, I had to go through menopause all alone. I had nobody to talk to. My sister-in-law said, at least I have the tools now to be able to advocate for myself if and when needed. And then my niece, who is a feisty Gen Zer, said, listen, Auntie Amanda, if you don't do something about this, then our generation will, and I'm inclined to believe her. My brother, meanwhile, said, yeah, I'm out of here, and left the room. But you know what? That was a missed opportunity on my behalf. I should have invited him into the conversation. Because let's face it, men are fairly hesitant to talk about menopause, to be engaged. And I really want them to be engaged. In fact, it's my mission that everyone starts speaking about menopause. Let's take that word and all it contains out of the darkness. So how do we truly move the needle on this? Well, here are 3 things we can start today. Firstly, be okay with being uncomfortable. Because, once you get the awkwardness out of the way, it's not such a big deal. 2, fill your own personal knowledge gaps. Read the menopause books. Listen to the menopause podcast. Go to the menopause summits. Do it all because you know what? It's appreciated. And then lastly, remember that menopause impacts everyone. And this is where women can be really proactive. Let's bring everyone to the table. Let's do this together. This has to happen as a society. Menopause is just a word. And the moment you say it aloud, the more likely others will do the same. And so that's my final call to action to you today. Say it aloud, because each time you do, it gets a bit easier for all of us. Thank you.